sex crimes have been taking place for years. People want to get it off their chest. It's closure and it's a catharsis if they can come forward and talk about it. And I'm here today, and I'm around all over because it's my mission, quite frankly, to make sure that we do discuss it and that it's not a foreign topic. Believe me, I'll talk to 2 people, I'll speak to 2,000 people. I'll talk to anybody that's willing to listen. I want to make sure that this subject matter is not embarrassing and it's not difficult for parents to talk about. I know that it's graphic. I'm sorry, it's going to be a little bit graphic, and that's because that's the only way that I can explain to you what actually goes on. Because all of us only see the very high-profile cases on TV that I cover on television, on CNN, or breaking news with a teacher having sex with a child or whatever. But we see these cases all day long, hundreds and hundreds of cases. She walked in and I moving her hips, and I said, "Wow, you're a good dancer." And then she started to really move her hips, and I thought, what? So I said, like gyrating, and I said to her, where'd you learn that? You go to ballet school? And she said, oh, Britney Spears was on TV, and she was wearing them, and this is what they know. I said, you learned that? She goes, yeah, the way she was moving and shaking, and we don't think that it's anything major. We're so used to seeing it, but for a kid who's impressionable, that's sexy. And that's where she learned to do it. And I'm not saying she learned to have sex that way, but these are just little things that stay in a little kid's head. That sexual movement, that sexiness at age 4, that gyrating, that shouldn't be going on. The big cases, the salacious cases, the teacher cases, the female teacher cases, the Jerry Sandusky cases, those are the big cases that make it on the air. Those are the ones that I talked about on CNN. But nobody comes in and sees the everyday cases that we deal with where it's not a teacher, so it's not high profile. It's a mother, it's a father, it's an uncle, it's a cousin. It's the neighbor. It's the person that you least expect would be involved. And that's why these types of forums and these types of discussions are so important, because parents so many times will come in and say, I never thought it. How could he ever? That's my next door neighbor. That's the person that babysits. These are the people, unfortunately, that you need to watch. But there's plenty of parents that would rather put their head in the sand and not think that it would ever happen to their kid than have the discussion. And I'm here to tell you that you need to be proactive. It's an epidemic, quite frankly, it really is, that we need to figure out a way to kind of pull it all in and figure out what we do as far as teaching kids about abuse. When I get a case on my desk, everyone's trying to figure out the psychology behind the abuse. And quite frankly, my answer is, I'm not a psychologist, I'm a prosecutor, and I'm very good at, after all this time, kind of having some intuition about certain things, but I'm not looking for the psychology behind it. When I go into a courtroom and I prosecute somebody for sexual abuse, quite frankly, it's not my place to, the defense to the case is not, oh, he was abused himself. That's not a defense in the state of Florida, that he was abused. Because everybody, quite frankly, would use that as a defense, and it's not. I had a case where a man in California who worked in a hospital, he was head of the X-ray, radiology X-ray department in California. And what he did was, like most sexual predators do, is he befriended the kids in the hospital, and he went so far as to tell them that he was a physician, he was the doctor. Now, if you have a little kid in a hospital and the parents aren't around and nobody else is around, and someone walks in scrubs with a name tag on, what do you think you're going to believe? Do you think that an 8-year-old kid is going to say, show me your ID? Who do you really work for? I don't really think you are a doctor. No one's going to question that. Someone of our age might be, a little more in tune to it. So he would walk in the room, he would pretend he was the doctor, and he would feel their penises and masturbate and do horrible, horrific things. He also was very instrumental in Big Brothers. And that's another thing. That's what predators like to do. They like to associate themselves where they know there's going to be kids. I mean, it makes perfect sense. If you're a sexual predator who preys on kids, where do you think you want to be? Around any kid. In an arcade, in Big Brothers, in Boy Scouts. And I'm not defaming these organizations, but I'm telling you as a parent, as an adult, these are things that you need to watch out for. You can't kind of just put it on the side and say, oh, it's never going to happen to my kid. So anyway, I had this case, and he did it to that. So we went into the boys' room at the hospital and pretended he was a doctor. He then, as a big brother, befriended this single mother who had a son, sweet-talked his way into her. I'll be his father. I will do everything. I'll take him to the movies. I'll take him here. I'll take him there. All the things that predators like to do. And he developed this relationship with this boy. And what he was doing was he was sexually abusing the boy. He was doing everything to this boy. When the one boy left the hospital and went home, he came to that. He waited for the parents to leave. He knocked on the door. This kid came to the door. He was 9 at the time. Came to the door. He said, I'm here for a house call. Came into the house. Again, the boy's not going to say, oh, I don't believe you. He already saw him in the hospital. He's in his scrubs. He came in and he fully sexually abused the boy. And finally, the boy told his brother, you know, the doctor came to the house. And the brother said, what? What do you mean? Who makes a house call from a hospital? And that's how the revelation was gained. These two guys came into court at 31 and 32 and couldn't even get through the testimony without sobbing like babies because they were reliving what had happened to them. So when you ask me the question, does keeping this secret, I guess for some people, they're able to get through their lives, but for the most part, it's going to play a role somewhere in your life later on, either in developing relationships, in not trusting people, in not being able to even be with your own child or change the diaper. Something like I can't change the diaper of my own child because I was abused. These are things that victims have to live with all the time. People always ask me, how old, when do I start talking to my child? Well, if you're a parent, you know your own child. You know what they're able to talk to you about. You know the capability and the maturity level. You could have a 3-year-old that doesn't talk or say anything. You could have a 3-year-old that can talk about world peace. I always said, and this is always my way, if they're learning words and they're learning how to talk, there's no reason why you don't discuss with them at an early age about their body parts. And this is the other issue that I was going to discuss with you. So many people say to me, I can't say vagina. I can't say penis. Well, you have to learn to do that because that's a body part. If you can talk about their head, their nose, this is your ear, this is your neck, this is your mouth, this is your teeth, what makes it so different that you can't say, that's your penis and this is your vagina? And the funny thing is, it's not the kids that are embarrassed about it, that are giggling and laughing. Sometimes they do. It's a parent who says, oh God, what am I going to say? Oh, what do I say? You say, that's your vagina and that's your penis. And if you start at an early age, if you tell them at 3, there's no reason for them to be embarrassed. They're never going to say at age 6, oh, I can't talk about that. Because you didn't make it an issue. If you as the parent don't make it an issue, it's not going to be an issue for them. It's an everyday thing for them. And so I always urge parents, plenty of times people come in my office and they say, well, I gave the private part a certain name. So I have kids come in my office and say, oh, he touched my pocketbook. I know what it is. I know what they're talking about. But if they went up to a stranger or someone that they felt that they could talk to, and they said, so-and-so touched my pocketbook, what do you think that person's going to say? Guess.
No big deal.
Yeah, like, where's your purse? Like, what are you talking about? No, my pocketbook. What? And that's why it's so important to use the proper terminology.